Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself, I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome on in, everybody. Happy Friday to you. We made it. You made it. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. We are at the shops at Southtown. Is it safe to say we're back? Like the 2020 malaise and everything kind of came after it a year or two after.
Oh, yeah.
Like
we're definitely
there are
back.
People parked in the parking lot.
Good.
It's packed out here. I had to do like the 4 swipes up and down the parking lot lane to make sure I could find a place to get going.
Look,
that means we're back, America.
There's plenty of fine establishments here. I'm enjoying some Venezuelan food as I speak here at the food court.
Look at you being the world traveler with your food
always
choices today.
Always. But I must say, and everyone listening, this is important news.
What?
Santa's here.
Oh, is he? Oh, that's right.
Santa's downstairs.
Well, I was a little bit
bit
disappointed. You know why? Because he actually took our seat that we normally have here.
We don't make many exceptions.
There's a couple people I'll allow to take that spot.
I know the other one, and the one downstairs is Santa.
All right. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We're kicking off your Friday here. We are planted right here in the food court at the shops at Southtown. It's this really fun thing when we're facing the door. So every person who walks in, we get to have a moment of eye contact.
It's a little awkward.
Oh, it's great, actually. I just stare them down as they walk through. I'm all about it. So come down, get your Christmas shopping going. It's like remember when this was the thing that you did when you were a kid? It was like, all right, pack it up. It's a couple Saturdays before Christmas. We're going over to the mall. So if you've got a couple things you got to wrap up for your sibling or something, or for a brother, or whomever, this is the place to do it at the shops at Southtown. And by the way, this is going to be, of course, the home of the Utah Hockey Club. Of course, not for game nights, but for all of everything else, their corporate offices, all of their practice facilities, and a couple sheets of ice that the public and the hockey club are all going to be using. It's going to be an amazing space right here, and that's all going to be the construction's underway, right? But,
yes.
Of course, the mall is still open, and the shops at Southtown are humming right now. So, yes, come on down and stare awkwardly at JJ and I as you walk through the we're on the food court side. So if you wonder where we are, you can find our signage, and we're right here. We're going to be chatting all day today with the folks here at the shops of Southtown. But we've got a ton of hockey to cover today. And why? We've got ourselves a little bit of a hockey roundtable of sorts. We're going to be bringing in a ton of hockey guests. We did this a couple of months ago. And because of the partnership that the shops of Southtown and the hockey club have established, and we want people to understand that this is a jewel right here in Sandy, it's going to get even better. So our program brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Gives you the protein bar that doesn't quit, all right?
Never.
This is one that's not going to give up on you. I mean, there's a different protein bar that we're sitting next to right here. It's called the Hot Dog on a Stick. I don't know if your nutritionist would sign off on that being a protein bar.
Not on the SLC fat loss plan.
No
offense.
It's got protein in it, too.
Hey, the good people, a hot dog on a stick, wonderful food. It's a hot dog on a stick.
You know what it's for. You know what it's for. It's absolutely a certain time of year you can enjoy it, and this is absolutely one of those.
There's other if you're looking to shed some pounds, there's some better local
options there you go.
Here. Like poke, Venezuelan.
Oh, yeah. Poke?
Yeah. How did I pronounce it wrong?
It was a very Wyoming pronunciation of poke. Pokey.
Eat pokey by the creek. Eat pokey by the creek.
Oh, hey, y'all have some of that pokey?
That's pokey's really good. What is that? That tastes great. Oh, it's sushi.
Wait, y'all say you didn't cook it?
What?
Hold on.
Is
Send it through the fryer real quick.
Your trout's raw? You put rainbow trout in there?
Oh, my
Get out of the lake?
You say it's
get out of the creek?
You say it's not trout? It's what is it? Tuna.
Where?
Holy cow. All right.
You know where we live?
We're going to kick off the show as we always do with the cut. Let's jump in right here. Top of the program. Let's do it. It's the cut. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And, of course, this portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at Trajan Wealth, helping you in your retirement, your trusted local financial fiduciaries. Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com is the website. You can, of course, go check it out for yourself for all of your retirement needs. All right, let's jump in right here. Our guest right now, senior NHL writer for ESPN. He is Greg, or for my goodness, I'm getting Greg all sorts of ways. Yes, for ESPN. Greg Wyshynski joined us on the program as he's done many times before. At this point, Greg, though, we're experts in hockey, so we're just bringing you on for analysis, for all the analysis. It's been 4 months of us just drinking from a fire hose here, and of course the team is underway. And right now, the Utah Hockey Club is playing some really, really good hockey. Welcome to the program, man.
Oh, man, I miss our Hockey 101 discussions. You guys are going to teach me a thing or two about what's happening on the ice.
Well, we may disappoint you here today, Greg, so careful on that. I feel like before we get into the Utah Hockey Club, we got to talk about palm trees. What's going on in Buffalo?
Oh, it's hilarious. So their general manager, Kevin Adams, the other day was talking about why the Sabres are on their way to NHL record 14th straight season without making the playoffs. And he said one of the issues in comparing Buffalo to other locales is that we don't have any palm trees in New York. So the fans in Buffalo, of course, latched onto that, started bringing inflatable palm trees to games as sort of a symbol of the franchise's futility.
Wow.
And then a couple days ago, a bunch of fans were told to deflate them and tuck them away by ushers because there was a rumor going around that the management was embarrassed. I talked to the Sabres. They claim all they care about is having a big inflatable palm tree obstructing the view of other people there.
Sure.
But I think some Sabres fans are still a little bit cynical that maybe all these inflatable palm trees at games are making management kind of embarrassed about what their general manager said.
I love how the idea is like now this is the new deflate gate, like where you're like, hey, you deflate those palm trees right now, and you and you shape it up here. We're not going to embarrass the owners here, but across the league, of course, and whether or not I don't know, it's a fun flair on wearing the paper bag over the head. I guess it's the new version of that, right?
It could be worse.
It is, and listen, I'm a New York Jets fan. I've got nothing but sympathy and kinship with Buffalo Sabres fans. If it wasn't for the Jets, the Sabres would have the longest drought in professional sports right now. So I understand wearing a bag on your head. I understand bringing a palm tree to a game. But as the team told me, at the end of the day, they're happy they're coming to the game. If you want to come to the game and stage a protest and do whatever, at least anger is an emotion. Anger is not apathy. Anger is not staying at home and not using your season tickets. So I think they'll take an inflatable palm tree over someone not going through the turnstile at a game.
Well, I'll tell you what, a much different vibe here in Utah, Greg. Everybody here is just loving this NHL hockey. We're a hockey town now, apparently. It's been fun. We've really embraced this team. The team's embraced the community here, and they're successful. I know they're on that fringe of the Stanley Cup playoff race. They're right there in the mix, but the vibe from Buffalo and places like that, you come here, this place is excited, and they're not even at the top of the table in the standings. What's the vibe? You cover the league as a whole. You cover it from a 30,000-foot view. What's the view of what Utah Hockey Club is doing so far this season around the league?
Well, for sure. Off the ice, obviously, everybody's really excited about the market and the buzz from the market. And I think the teams that have come through to play the Utah Hockey Club have been pretty impressed with the engagement and with the facility and everything else, especially compared to where this hockey team was playing a year ago, which was a college hockey arena. But from an on-ice perspective, it's been hard to get a handle on them. They came out of the gate so hot. Then they faded a bit. They're still obviously within a few points of a wild card spot in the Western Conference, but that's a really, really competitive conference. A lot more attention being paid to teams like Edmonton and Colorado that kind of have course corrected after some rough starts to rocket up the standings. And then obviously you have teams like Minnesota and Winnipeg in Utah's division that have just lapped the field already. So it's great that they're in the hunt. I think it makes it exciting, and I do think that if there is a chance to improve the team around the trade deadline and they've got the playoffs in sight, I don't think management would hesitate to do it. And I also think that they've overcome some pretty significant injuries too on their blue line to be this competitive, and also have overcome a starting goaltender that was great last year and not so great this year. So it's been nice to see and great to see obviously some of the younger players also really performing as well as they have as well.
We were, just in this latest stretch, the hockey club is, kind of found a little bit of a stride. I know that stringing together multiple wins in a row is a really, really hard thing to do in the NHL. They are traveling a lot, and it's like they go on the road for 2 and then come back for 2 and then go back out on the road for 2, like go to the east and then come back and then go back out to the east again. I was chatting with a former Coyotes fan, and he's still as bitter about the whole thing. But he said, "Yeah, that's the way we were treated when we were in Arizona too." Is there a version of that where teams feel like, and maybe it's because, Utah's a little bit in that no man's land of like, hey, we had to throw a schedule together, and this is part of it. But is this much travel kind of normal for these guys to go back and forth this much? It just seems like they're getting a little bit of a. I tried to look at some of these schedules, but is it normal to have this much back and forth all season long?
I mean, a lot of it has to do with arena availability. I do wonder if the hasty nature of the move from Arizona to Utah last season maybe played into some trouble with long-term planning insofar as building availability. If certain acts are coming through at certain times, and you have to hit the road a little bit earlier than you want to. I mean, the good news is that maybe just keep playing on the road. I mean, like they're really good on the road. Winning record on the road. They played really well. The stats are strong. I think they're comfortable as a road team. And so I couldn't tell you for certain whether it's just simply a symptom of being a Western Conference team, which, it probably is part of that, or if there's other things afoot because of just how quickly things had to come together. But the good news is that being on the road and having to go as far as they have, especially early in the season, doesn't seem to have adversely affected their record on the road.
What are your thoughts on the Central Division? I think it's, Dallas is right where maybe you thought there'd be, but to have Winnipeg and Minnesota on the top and you see Nashville down a lot lower than you expected, what do you make of that? And Colorado in the middle when we thought maybe they'd be at the top. It's been a little bit unpredictable so far.
That's a great point on Dallas. Like, if you told me they were 17 and 11 to start the season, I'd be like, yeah, that's about right where I'd expect them to be, except they got 2 teams ahead of them that are like 10 points ahead of them already because of how incredible the Jets and the Wild have been off the hop. I mean, Winnipeg was the biggest story in the league in the first month of the season, and just all the wins they put together and just how dominant they were. And then they faded a little bit, and all of a sudden, here's Minnesota. So those two are just kind of been like trading the lead in the division for the last a few weeks. And then, like you said, Colorado is right at the ship. They were missing some players to injury and lineup absence earlier this year. They've gotten healthier, and they're interesting because they're the rare team that revamped their entire goaltending very early in the season. Acquiring Scott Wedgwood from the Nashville Predators and then Mackenzie Blackwood from the San Jose Sharks, which kudos to them. Like, if your goaltending's not working, just be aggressive and get the guys you want now before the prices go crazy around the deadline. But kudos to Utah. They're right in the mix. They got St. Louis right behind them that made a coaching change, and then you have Nashville that just can't seem to string together 2 consecutive wins. But they are a team that put together the best 18 games of any team last season to earn a playoff spot. So I think they're still hoping that they might be able to figure out a way to go on another run like that.
What's it going to take for the Utah Hockey Club to make the playoffs in terms of like a points? Obviously that has to get totally shaken out by the end, but are they on pace to just kind of be still on that edge, or do you think you need 100 points this year to get into the playoffs, or is it just like every year is such a toss up when you get toward the end, and some teams are making that push at the end? Obviously last year this franchise was in the dumps and hitting that 14 game losing streak that pretty much just said, hey, that's the end of this for this one, that's the end of this chapter. But what does it look like for the ability to be able to get there? And is it a long shot, or is it something you're like, you know what, this young team's showing enough that they might be able to turn some things and turn some heads and get enough points to get in the playoffs?
Well, the good news is I don't think anyone's going to all of a sudden announce they're relocating in the middle of the season, which I think is really what messed up the Coyotes campaign last year. But, if you look inside the numbers on Utah, you find a team that is basically scoring as much as they're expected to at 5-on-5. So that's the good news. I think obviously guys like Gunther and Cooley and Keller and the big names on the roster are hitting their marks, and that's what you want to see. And in Gunther's case, becoming a star right before our eyes and making Bill Armstrong look really, really smart for having signed him to that contract. If you look at the team defensively within the analytics, the goaltending's really propping them up. I mean, Vejmelka's played so outstanding this year. Really a great story insofar as, being someone that a lot of people looked at 2 years ago as, one of the secret better goalies in the league. Then his stats were terrible last year, and he's really rebounded at the right time considering how inconsistent Connor Ingram's been. But, as a team defensively, and this might be a symptom of just being so young, they're really not playing incredibly well in front of them defensively as 5-on-5 based on the analytics. So what you're looking for them to make the playoffs, keep scoring as they are, be a little bit tighter defensively at 5-on-5 so you don't have to depend on your goaltending as much. And then most importantly, and they did this the other night, beat the teams in front of you. Win the games that are going to be 4-point swings in a division where every win against a rival is going to really, really matter from the math.
It may be a little too early to ask you this, but I will anyway. You mentioned earlier that Utah with the start they're off to and how they're right on the fringe there and they've got a lot of room might be in the situation where they could pull the trigger on something. What are you hearing around the league right now, and what are some players that might be available or things you're hearing about when it comes to player movement in the league right now?
Well, we've actually on ESPN recently we put out our trade tiers. So it's a list of all the players who have been rumored to be moving or have expiring contracts, some ones that may not move, but who knows, things can go crazy. A couple of the bigger names that could be available, I think Chris Kreider from the New York Rangers is obviously one that's top of mind because his general manager literally put his name in a memo and sent it to 31 other general managers and said, hey, this guy's available.
Wow.
But the Rangers, if they don't get their act together, I think there could be multiple players from that team that could be potentially available. Keandre Miller, a really good young defenseman who's up for a new contract after this season. My colleague Kevin Weeks said he's heard his name out in trade discussions. Other than that, I mean, you're looking at the usual collection of expiring contracts on teams that are outside the playoff mix currently. The good news for Utah is I think that with the financial stability of the ownership and the certainty insofar as where they're going to be for the next, couple decades, that they can go and dabble in the rental market more than Arizona was able to, when they were close to maybe to playoff contention. So, I do think they'll be aggressive. I do think that the team has to earn that by being close to a playoff spot. And so far, I think that they've shown that they're going to, be in this mix until the trade deadline at the very least.
I'm looking around the league, too, and it's fascinating. You mentioned the Jets and the Wild have been a nice surprise. I look in the East, and the Devils have been a great story, turning things around this year, and that was kind of expected. But who is the biggest disappointments this season in the NHL or teams that you're surprised have not been as good? Obviously, you mentioned the Rangers just now. Who are those surprises in the league?
Well, the Rangers are one where they just can't seem to get their act together. Over in the East, I would say that I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised the Islanders are just kind of mid. They've been a team that's played together for so long. Patrick Waugh came in as their coach last year, seemed to energize them a little bit. They're just kind of there, and maybe that's a symptom of having the team be together for so long, and maybe it's a symptom of not having their star player Matt Barzal in the lineup for most of the season. But they're just kind of there, and I thought they'd be better than that. Over in the West, obviously, it's Nashville. I mean, and it is stunning to see a team that made the playoffs last year, had a good collection of young players. They go out, they bring in Steven Stamkos, they bring in Jonathan Marchessault, they bring in Brady Shea. They look like they're going to augment a good young roster with some star players, and nothing's worked. I mean, to bring in all that talent and be one of the worst teams offensively in the league is one of the most shocking things that I've seen in hockey in like the last 5 years. And I still have faith that maybe they can pull it together. They've got all the pieces to do it, but they've just not been able to really do anything insofar as find consistency and try to move up the standings.
When teams, Bill Armstrong and obviously Coach Turney they've been very serious about getting the veterans in, the guys with cup experience, the guys who have seen a lot. That's a big deal because we have these young guys who are impressionable, that have massive amounts of talent. That we feel like that's across every big sport that we cover. Of course, that's a move you do. You got to bring veterans in and guys who know what to do. Mikhail Sergachev has been a really big deal for this team. how much of an impact does having a guy like that on your blue line kind of really solidify groups? And it takes a minute to gel as a team, obviously, and some of these lines, obviously, too. But when it really comes down to it, adding these veteran guys into the locker room has been huge for this team.
Yeah, and he's also an interesting story in the sense of, like, he was never the guy in Tampa. I mean, he was playing on a team with Victor Hedman. And so to see him be as good as he's been for Utah, with 20 points, 29 games, skating, I think at last check, above 25 minutes a night, which is, stellar for him to move up and increase his ice time like that. It's been really impressive. He played in the shadow of one of the best defensemen of his generation, picked up a thing or two, comes to a team that needs him to be that guy, and I think he's been as advertised.
Greg Wyshynski, senior writer for ESPN, covering the NHL. Always love being able to chat with you, Greg. And one of my buddies, I have a couple of hockey friends who have now become hockey friends because they know a lot more about hockey than I do, and I'm dipping in with them all the time about stuff. And so it's awesome to be able to have guys like you on because it brings a little bit of credibility to this program that we need sometimes when it comes to hockey. We're all trying to figure this thing out, man. So we appreciate you joining us.
Well, I fake it pretty well, so I appreciate you saying that. And and anytime, I mean, it's awesome to talk hockey with you folks, and it's really awesome to see the community rally around the team, and it's also awesome to see players really kind of playing their way into fan hearts. I mean, how many Gunther jerseys are we going to see floating around Salt Lake City next year?
Lots.
Probably a lot. So it's really cool to see that.
All right,
that's awesome.
Greg Wyshynski, we appreciate it. Wish we'll talk to you next time, and we'll leave it there. I love having him on because he's got all that energy, man.
Yeah, Greg, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, all right. What do you got? Your Venezuelan food still? You're working on it?
Oh yeah.
You're like
I need
so
a break.
mad. You're like so mad that we are still.
I can't sit
in
here
the middle
and
of our
eat
show.
Venezuelan food.
No,
while we
I
have
appreciate it. I love it. I love
great Greg Wyshynski on. There's no way.
I know. And listen, I've been in radio for a long time. I've had a number of co-hosts, and sometimes guys will just be like, you know what? I'm eating right now.
Just take a segment off.
I'll go. Okay, there you go. Okay,
I know. I bet I know who those guys are that you've worked with.
There's a lot of
them.
them. There's a lot of them. They're like, I think now's a good time to take a bite of this pizza.
I'm hungry. I'm done.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, hey, Cole Bagley, our Utah Hockey Club insider for KSLSports.com, is going to join us, and we're going to jump in and just kind of talk about this stretch of 5 games that the Utah Hockey Club have now gone 4-1 or 4-0-1. Don't short them the 1 point in the overtime loss. Don't do it. So we'll come back. We got more to go. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
With complete coverage of the Utah Hockey Club, this is Cole Bagley of KSLSports.com on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program. We are at the shops at Southtown. We're celebrating, of course, the Utah Hockey Club, another one of our hockey roundtable days here on a Friday. We're not doing just full-on hockey, but any hockey guests that we're going to throw on today. It's because we do it we're doing it on purpose. It's all about being able to every once in a while.
At the future home of the Utah Hockey Club practice facility. Construction's underway here. But that doesn't mean the mall's shut down. Mall's running right now. Santa's downstairs. Come down and say hi to us.
Santa's downstairs. We're upstairs. And JJ's got the Venezuelan food. Those are fried plantains.
That's right.
Those look phenomenal.
They are. They are delicious.
Okay.
Who knew cheese on plantains was good?
Oh, I could have. There's a savory and a kind of a Swedish situation going on.
Well, plantains, honestly, people think, oh, those are bananas.
They're more potato-y.
They're very much more sweet potato.
Yeah. So, listen, we also had maybe my favorite move that we've had ever. A grandma who was here doing some shopping for her grandkids came by, reaches in her pocket, pulls out hard candy from the pocket, drops it on the table. We just got grandma'd here at the shops at Southtown.
For a moment, I thought I was in church, not at the mall.
No, I know. And not only that, it's like flashback to my grandparents are no longer with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is And none of this Werther's Original stuff. These are the hard candy Lifesavers.
I prefer Lifesaver over Werther's anyway.
100%.
No offense to our friends at Werther's.
Our friends, our sponsors, our great sponsors over at Werther's.
And this program brought to you by Werther's Original.
I love how right when the speaker fired up, you did an ad lib for Werther's Original. All right, joining us on the program, he is he's our Utah.
He
Hockey
loves
Club
a Werther's
insider.
Original, I bet.
And you know what? If you had Werther's Originals jokes on the rundown for today's show, it was the first time for me. Cole Bagley, Utah Hockey Club insider for KSLSports.com. Man, this is a fun stretch for the hockey club right now, and covering them must be just as much fun. Are they figuring things out, and what are those things that they've figured out to be able to go 4-0-1 in the last 5 games here, Cole?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everything. Like, you look at this team over the last, couple weeks. Since November 23rd, they're tied for first in road wins with 6. They're second in goals with 38 and a differential plus 17. They're second in power play percentage at 37.5%. Third in road goals a game at 4.29. Fourth in regulation wins with 5. Fifth in penalty kill percentage at 84.9%, and fifth in wins 6 and points percentage. So they're pretty much across the board. Utah Hockey Club has been figuring it out. They're getting incredible play from their second and fourth line. They're getting good play. From the top line, they're getting remarkable goaltending. So pretty much across the board, Utah Hockey Club is playing just about as good as anybody over the last couple of weeks.
You've gone full David Locke on us, Cole, with the advanced metrics. Are there I would assume there are hockey advanced metrics, and are there ones that are more indicative of others when you look at them and say, oh, this is kind of where the health of a team is based off of a couple of big numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at, goals against, when you look at power play percentage, penalty kill percentage, those types of things, I'm sure it goes even deeper. I know that there's, strategic analysts, working for all the clubs in the NHL that, they're looking even deeper in terms of, how certain players perform on certain lines and, how long guys are out on the ice, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you kind of just, take a step back and look at the basics, Utah is flourishing in all of those statistics that really matter.
All that said, and that is awesome. What changed? Why weren't these numbers this way back in mid-November when they were struggling to score goals? Is there something that's changed with this club, or is there a moment you can point to where kind of things flipped? What led to the change and the improvement in play for this club over the last 2 or 3 weeks?
I think it's confidence, and I think the confidence started in net. Ever since Vamelka kind of took over as the number one goaltender, as he's been, playing in that top spot, he's been just very, very good. I believe he's 7th in save percentage in the NHL right now in 15 games with 13 starts. I believe he's near 0.92%, which is fantastic. If you're getting a goalie that's defending the pipes that well, you're going to win a lot of hockey games. And as coach has pointed out, as players like Cooley and Gunther and Keller have pointed out in recent days, that confidence becomes contagious. When you can trust that your goaltender is going to back you up, and that, hey, if I make a mistake, it's not absolutely the end of the world. We're going to get scored on. You play more relaxed. You play with more confidence in yourself and in your teammates. And so, if I had to point to one thing, I think it would be, just how good Vamelka is playing and how that's spreading throughout the entire roster.
This Utah Hockey Club over the past 10 games has the highest win percentage in all of the Central Division. That's including teams that are hot, like the Jets, like the Wild. They lost that close one to the Wild, on Tuesday. And that was a heartbreaker considering where they were at with 40 seconds left in that game. But can you tell me a little bit about why a guy like Dylan Gunther has been so huge, and is he ahead of schedule? Like when you talk about young development and how big has his play been? Obviously 2 goals last night. He's an electric dude on the ice when he gets going. But where's he at development-wise, and is he ahead of schedule versus maybe some of these younger guys who still have a little bit more development to go?
I'm going to pull a bunch more stats.
Yeah, I love it.
Here for you. So Dylan Guenther currently leads the Utah Hockey Club in goals with 12 and points with 28. He also leads the team in power play goals with 5, multi-point games at 8, multi-goal games at 4, and he's tied with Clayton Keller for the most 3-point games at 2. I would say that Dylan Guenther is ahead of schedule. If you take a look at last season, he finished with 18 goals and 17 assists and 45 appearances. So right now, 2024-25, this is his first full season in the NHL, and he's leading the team in all of those statistical areas, and he's up in terms of points per game. He's averaging .96, which is nearly a point per game, that is very, very good in the National Hockey League. And he's up from .77 points per game last year. So I would say he's ahead of schedule. It's crazy to think that he's only 21 years old. He's just been an absolute offensive monster. And it's not just simply goals. I mean, he's got 12 goals, but he's also got 16 assists, which I think is second on the Utah Hockey Club, tied with Logan Cooley, and just behind Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. So, when you look at what he's doing right now, I think that he has got superstar potential. You give this kid a couple more, 2, 3, 4 seasons. I think he's going to be in the triple digits in terms of production. They're not the same player, but I see glimpses of Alexander Ovechkin in Dylan Guenther and the way that he scores and the way that he goes about putting points on the board. I think there's been an adjustment in his game over the last 2-3 weeks where if you guys remember, he went through that stretch of about 2 or 3 weeks where he didn't score a goal, and now they're coming every single night. And I think it's because he's adjusted his game in terms of finding the open space, in terms of getting lost in the offensive zone, to the point where the defense doesn't realize where he is, doesn't recognize where he is. And I think a lot of that has to do with how well that second line is playing with Logan Cooley and Jack McBain. There's so much space, and you have to, teams are having to pay so much attention to each of them that it's helping Guenther. You can't really double team the guy. You can't really, back off of Cooley and McBain and let them produce. Guenther has been absolutely phenomenal. Cooley as well, and those two are going to take this team to new heights.
I can't ask you about Dylan Guenther without also asking you about Logan Cooley, because it feels like they're on the same trajectory. Young players that keep getting better. You talked about how good Gunther's getting. How about Logan Cooley?
He's right there. Those two are inseparable. I think they're the two best players on the Utah Hockey Club right now. Again, I'm a big numbers guy. I think, numbers often tell the story. He's up 54% from last season in terms of production. He only had 44 points through 82 games last season, and through 29, he's up at .82 points per game. And on pace to finish with 68, so 24 points ahead of where he was last year. We were able to talk to Coach a couple of days ago, and I mean, this is, I think, one of the best quotes that I've heard from Bear on any of his players. He said that Cooley is the kind of guy who's mad after a 2-point night because he could have 4. They're not, Cooley's not often satisfied. But he's not saying that in a bad way. He said he's always a guy who wants more. It's just in his DNA. So Utah is very lucky to have these two. They hit the reset button 4 years ago. They've looked to rebuild through the draft, and Bill Armstrong has done it the right way. He's got two of the best and brightest young stars in the game. Again, 20 and 21 years old is crazy. Give these guys a couple years. Utah's going to be a very, very good hockey team that I think, can contend for Stanley Cups. And, maybe 15, 20 years down the road, they're building statues of these guys outside Delta Center.
Well, we appreciate the coverage, of course, as usual. Cole Bagley, our Utah Hockey Club insider, KSLSports.com. You can get his hat trick. Just do what I do. Just get go to the KSL Sports app, and when you download that thing, and you'll get that notification when Cole drops that hat trick drop every night after these Utah Hockey Club games. You get kind of the full download of it, and it's great education in the game and kind of where this team's at right now. Utah Hockey Club solo in 5th place in the Central Division in the West. And, Cole, we appreciate it, man. As always, thanks for hanging out with us on a Friday. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Next time I'll have to come out if they're handing out Werthers over there.
Oh, yeah.
I missed out today.
We get all the grandmas throwing some candy at us.
You never know what you're going to get at the Southtown. It's a Southtown experience.
I love it. I love it. All right, Cole, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
All right, we'll take the break here. Yes, we're at the shops at Southtown, and you can come down, hang out. We've eaten all the Lifesavers. Sorry, it's part of the deal. They're ours. You can't. We're not handing those out. Those are for the.
We earned those.
Those are for Brant. And
they
for
were
Stone.
meant for us.
And I think they really were handing it to our techs here on site because they were like, you guys are doing the Lord's work over
That's
here.
right.
They are. So set up perfectly right here at the shops in Southtown, right here in the food court. And you can come down, hang out, grab something to eat. We're sandwiched between the hot dog on a stick and Uncle Sharky's. Never thought I'd say that phrase in my life, but here we are. So
what better place to be on a Friday afternoon?
I know.
Come join us.
The KSL Sports Zone, proud to support the all-day Mediathon at the Road Home, the annual tradition that we have to raise money for all other essential items for Utah's homeless population. Join us right there. The whole team's going to be there on December 20th to raise money in support of this cause. Monetary and in-kind donations all collected during the annual holiday Mediathon. To empower the Road Home to provide shelter, supportive services, and much more to help those who are overcoming homelessness. Help us support that cause at the Road Home Mediathon on December 20th. That's next Friday. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We will we'll jump in here on the way back, and we're going to at the 4 o'clock hour, by the way, Mike Folta, radio play-by-play for the Utah Hockey Club, is going to be joining us. Excited about that one as well. Plus, I'm also going to be telling you what our next week Win Ticket Wednesday tickets are going to be. So stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody. Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen. We're at the shops at Southtown. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, Stone, that was the right idea. Stone, one of our techs here on site, and he and Brant, they noticed a gentleman wearing the Utah Hockey Club hat, and we were like, look, you can win tickets right here today by getting the scan in there. Stone's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I see your hat. Look what's going on over here. We got this full setup here. We're talking hockey. JJ's got his hockey club hat on. I didn't wear my hoodie. I should have. I should have worn my hockey club
Missed
hoodie.
opportunity.
I know. I just didn't want to be too much of a homer. I wanted to pretend at least for a minute I'm down the middle.
I've had to wear a suit all week.
Yeah, you know
So
what?
It's Friday. I'm dressing down.
Good
I'm wearing
for you.
a hat.
You can come down and
I got jeans on.
There's a big old QR code. You don't even have to look at us. Just come in, cover your eyes, and then hit the scan the QR code, and get yourself entered to win some tickets to the Utah Hockey Club right here at the shops in Southtown. We're right here in the food court. By the way, by way of announcement, on next week, our Win Ticket Wednesdays across the entire station, we give away stuff. That's what we do. So our Win Ticket Wednesday next week that you don't want to miss on the KSL Sports Zone is going to feature a pair of tickets to see, are you ready for this, Toto, Men at Work, and Christopher Cross.
Oh, you know what that means.
Yacht Rock, baby.
Yacht Rock is coming to
Go!
Utah. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. At the
Let's sail away.
Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater coming up in August. You listen to KSL Sports. You listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday. You're going to get that chance to win. You don't want to miss any of it. So let's do it. All right. Would you rather? Bear with me on this hypothetical. I just sort of thought of it, and it's this dichotomy of where we're at, kind of as a city. You got to take the good with the bad. Right now, the Jazz are pretty bad, and I think that everybody's pretty, hopeful that it will be good, but it won't be for a minute.
Right. You have to be patient.
Okay, I'm going to give you this scenario. The Utah Hockey Club in the next 5 years is guaranteed to win the Stanley Cup, or the Jazz will win a title in 10 years. Which one do you want?
The Stanley Cup.
Yeah, really?
Oh,
But the Jazz.
How many titles have we?
If
have
I
here
told
at
you
Utah?
I told you in 20.
How many
in
professional
2034.
titles? You got the 1971 Utah Stars in the ABA, and you got the 2009 MLS Cup champion Real Salt Lake. We want more champions. You got the 1984 BYU Cougars.
Did the Ultimate Frisbee team, did they end up winning the title?
Maybe. Do they count?
Yeah, we've been pubbing.
What's their name, Alex?
What's my name? For $250,000. What is their name? It's the no, gosh dang it, we had those ads playing forever. Anyway, bottom line is, I get what your point is, but by the way, I said in 10 years. So in 10 years, they win the NBA title, the Jazz.
I want the one in 5. I'm impatient. It's been a while.
You want the Stanley Cup in 5 years?
Now. I want it now.
But in 34, think about that. You know what that would mean? The same year that we have the Winter Olympics, the Jazz win the title.
That would be special.
Oh, man.
That'd be a special year.
Oh, baby.
I'd take it.
All right. We'll take that break. We'll come back when we return. Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, going to join us next right here, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.